Welcome to the porch today, Parish Porch, where today we have on Amy and Skipper, who own and operate Country Kitchen in Gonzales. They have a busboy who's worked for them for over 20 years. He's never missed a single day of work. They have a cook who has been there over 25 years. You got to hear the story of what's happened at Country Kitchen in Gonzales. It's super cool, super amazing. They give back to the community in all kind of ways. So we're going to get into that today. First, you've got to stop for a second. If you're getting value, understand that we need you to click the follow or we need you to click subscribe because we want you to be here along for the journey that is to come. This podcast is going to be an edifying, uplifting podcast as we build on episodes and we raise awareness in the community about what's going on, who's the givers, who's the people who have the big hearts, who's touching lives. This is going to be a podcast that you're going to want to know about what's going on in your community. So please click follow so you can be notified of those future episodes and subscribe because we want you to be here along for the journey. Now, let's jump on the porch and let's speak up. I know that I have been there since I can remember. I think I was probably 5 or 6 years old the first time I ever ate over at Country Kitchen. They, at least when I used to go, had a buffet style. Is that still what you guys have?
It still is, has been for 40 years.
And I'll tell you what I remember the most. It's the fried chicken and the biscuits.
Mhm.
How long will y'all be in business this year coming up?
Coming up, it'll be 40 years. And I like,
40,
well, yeah, shout
40.
out to Gene and Jerry Cannon. They're the ones that started the restaurant and ran it for 15 years. I tell people they did the hard part. They established it. They have the menus. They had the recipes. When we bought it, our biggest goal was to not change anything that wasn't broken. And they had done a wonderful job creating a community, a family style restaurant. And we've tried to just, continue that and expand it, but, keep the same thing that they had started. And Jerry, who's passed away now, and Jean have did a wonderful job with their daughters, creating this restaurant.
Yeah, my daughters still worked here up until what, 2, 3 years ago, I think.
Yeah, yeah, they were
Really?
Yeah.
Really? All of them or some of them?
Just the two, Jana and Lori, were still here as servers up until about 3 years ago.
Wow. So they've spent their whole lives working in that restaurant. That is amazing.
Well, it's been great for us because they were already knew their job. So I didn't have to do much to keep them going. Just, give support and invest when we needed to. We've grown. We've doubled the seating capacity, we've tripled the parking capacity, but the menus, the recipes, everything basically has stayed the same with a few tweaks.
Well, I know that our audience would be interested in digging into a little bit of the tidbits of how that sale transpired. So, how did you know the restaurant was for sale? How did that kind of come about? Give us some of that story.
Well, it started when the first week they opened. I was actually opening a restaurant on Airline Highway, a Mexican place. And while I was working on mine, I came here the first day they opened, and for the next 15 years, every Sunday, Amy and the family always came here after church. So I got to know the family. One of my best friends from high school, David Capiel, married Jana. And when their parents were ready, Jana's parents were ready to sell, they were looking in the market and they knew I was in the business. I owned the Frost Top in Baton Rouge and I had 2 or 3 of those. So I was familiar with the restaurant business, and that, along with my accountant Lawson Porter, taught me into, go ahead and making the purchase, which turned out to be one of the best, ideas. I always tell people my best ideas I either stole or bought. This one I bought.
Yeah, you took us to lunch one day on a Sunday and said, well, this is the last time you'll be paying for lunch here.
Yeah.
And I was like, what, they're closing? He's like, nope, we own it.
We bought it.
It's like, whoa.
So, did they put it out like with a business broker for sale, or was it just like friends talking?
It was just friends talking. They were using the same accountant I was using, and they had gotten to my age now, and they were ready to move on and sell. I was in a position to need the income for one, and Frost Tops, we were opening and closing stores left and right, so this was more of a stable income, and they were gracious enough to finance the great majority of it since I had no cash. And over the next 12 years, I was able to pay them off and purchase a restaurant. So
Right. So they own or financed it to you,
correct.
basically. Yeah. So I have another podcast called the 90 Up Challenge, and we talk a lot about owner financing for purchasing properties. And so I'm deep into creative financing. I just bought 5 properties on creative on owner financing in Gonzales like 2 weeks ago. So that's something that we do and we teach over there at the 90 Up Challenge. But what what restaurant were you working
I had
on?
the Frost Stop in Baton Rouge has been there 50 something years. I had it for about 18 years.
Wow.
I opened up 5 more of them. And before that, I did 6 taco places. In fact, I had the first Mexican restaurant in Ascension Parish opened up across from St. Teresa, Mac Tacos, after McInnis.
Holy cow. How long ago was that?
1980.
Because I was a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They used to-
1980 and 81. Okay, so I was 12, 13 years old. Wow.
Yeah, it's going back.
And then you're talking about the frost top on government down there? That was yours?
Yeah, we had it for about 18 years, St. Ferdinand and 2 years after I bought this restaurant, I sold that one. So it's been a while.
Oh, wow. Then I ate there too while you owned it
That's good.
because it was when I was a kid. Wow, interesting. Yeah, I don't even know how long that's been there. Do you? The frost top?
1957.
Holy cow.
I had the contracts on it from the original opening day, so it's been there a long time.
Working on 75 years.
Yeah,
Wow. And so the taco place, that kind of wasn't able to take off.
it took off. It was there for about 12 years. I opened up 5 more as a young person. Every time I'd open a restaurant, if I made money, I thought I could open up 10 and open 10 more, and I was wrong. About 80% of the time. About a third of them made money, a third of them lost money, and a third of them just wasted my time. But so I didn't do like Todd Graves did and get my ducks in a row. In fact, I tried to get him to put Cane's Fried Chicken in Frost Top the first week he was open because my bread man kept bragging on his chicken. And he told me no, he was still working on his franchise agreements. And I thought, what an arrogant guy. 1 week. He's been open 1 week and he's talking franchises. Yeah, he got his ducks in a row. Yeah. So I definitely
Well, do you at this time, or do you have any other restaurants or just Country Kitchen?
since I sold Frost Top 20 years ago,
2003.
2003, I started playing more golf, and the more golf I played, the more money I made. So I quit opening restaurants and just concentrated on this one.
That's interesting. And I have a feeling I know why because of from my other entrepreneur experience. But we won't go there. Let's go to this. What can you tell us that we may not know as a community from those early days, maybe when Mr. Cannon, what would he tell us if he was still with us? Do you know any stories that he might tell us of interesting things that we may not know?
Jerry was his wife, Jean, actually, I found out when I purchased the restaurant, I kept asking questions and she answered them all. And so Jean was actually, I think, more instrumental in the actual day-to-day operations, the menus, the kitchen and stuff like that. She was very much on top of things. And Jerry was more along for the ride, I think, at that point. He was more into construction, house building and stuff like that. Where they did well in that too, buying and reselling homes and stuff.
When he focused so heavily on customer service, that was a big, big thing for him. He used to
Yeah.
sit in there and talk with customers all day long, keeping that family atmosphere
That's
going.
kind of his role.
Yeah.
Well, that makes you feel special when you're a patron and the owner is coming talk to you and smiling. That really works.
And we have a lot of
That-
customers that we know on a very personal level. They come multiple times a week and we know them by name. We know their stories. They check
Oh,
in
yeah.
on us. I had one the other, he's out right now because he just had surgery and he called up here to let us know how his surgery went and when he's gonna be back in, just so we wouldn't be worried about it.
Wow. And so how long have you been helping out, Amy?
I mean, on and off, I've worked here since we took over in 2001, more in like the waitress capacity as just kind of a fill-in. And then I had a couple stints of management throughout the years, but I never really stayed for very long. And then I've been here now full-time for 2.5 years in management.
Okay, so Miss Jean was the mastermind. Did she give any clues as to why the restaurant was set up in the serving style that it was? Because that's an interesting way to set up a restaurant.
I
It's
think
not,
they did made to order at first. They were actually open for breakfast for a little while too. I think they were doing breakfast and lunch and they were doing things made to order. And I think going to buffet style was just easier to manage with that type of food. So I'm not sure at what point it switched over solely to buffet.
They opened up originally as a furniture store and as
Oh, they
a
had,
antique shop. They did some of the antiques and then they made their own furniture. Jerry was very good with woodworking. And I don't think that was after they bought the building, it was not quite paying the bills. And my assumption is that Jean was just a good cook. She started cooking in the kitchen. They started off very small with very limited area and, it just took off from there, and by the time I bought it 15 years later, they had established a good trade, a good business and enough to at least pay off the restaurant. Um,
I just remembered for the first time since I don't even, I guess, I was a kid. I remember the antique store in there.
so Daphne
I
had
just
an
remember
antique
that.
shop in the front of the restaurant up until she passed in 2005, I think. And then my mother took over that aspect of the business. So she had her antiques here for a long time. We've kind of taken over that space because we needed
Yeah,
to go with more tables. So she
yeah.
still has a few things and most of it just became decor. But yeah, Daphne had a very extensive shop in the front for
she
many,
had
many
about a
years.
third of the restaurant was
Yeah.
antiques, and as we took it over, we've been blessed with more and more business. We've slowly taken over all that area and kept expanding, the seating capacity because the restaurant obviously was where the bigger profits were.
Somebody told me that you guys do something every year special for Christmas for the community. Tell me about that. What's the
So the
story?
Christmas dinner started in 2011. It was really just me and a couple friends that were kind of thinking about something we could do on Christmas Day to open up and feed people that didn't have family to get together with, or a lot of some of the people that are homeless in the area and things like that. It started off pretty small. We fed probably about 100 people that first year, and then it kind of took off and grew every year. But people donate the food, so they'll drop off cooked dishes or dishes the night before that need to just be heated up. And then I would make the turkeys, and then we just open the doors, and anybody that wants to join us can come and eat. This was our 10th year that we did it. We stopped during COVID for a couple years, so we brought it back last year for the first time, or 2 years ago. Timelines are funny, but.
And so you're just giving this meal away at Christmas. Is that
Yeah,
right?
we advertise it that it's for any, like, people that are stationed here working and don't have family to get together with, people that have lost loved ones and are just struggling during the holidays. We get a lot of,
The police.
they volunteer, but they're volunteering because they don't have anywhere else to be. So they're here to help. So they'll clean up, they'll do some of the kitchen work, they'll help us keep the buffet stocked. And they'll also sit down and eat a meal with people in the community. I think last year we ended up with somewhere around 200 or 300 people total that we ended up.
Wow,
The community is donating 90% of the food. They
Yeah.
bring
that's
it,
amazing.
we serve it. So, yeah.
What a great community we live in to do something like
The
that.
people that show up for that is incredible every year. And then all year they're asking me like, what else can we do? And it's real simple to put together because we just kind of keep it really loose. You bring what you can, help how you can, and just come and eat with us. It's a nice
And this is the
thing.
kind of thing that people in our community, especially the younger kids, need to understand that these things are going on. And that's why we're here doing this show, because we want to elevate the voices of the people who are doing things exactly like that. So the narrative of our community can change. And there is this undercurrent of a giving, loving, sacrificing community here, right? But you don't see that in the news, and you don't see that. You really don't even see it on social media very much.
No, I think the flood showed us that more than anything.
Yeah,
This
we were-
community is full of people that just want to help and
Yeah, we
come
were-
together.
Yeah, we were really blessed after the hurricane hit too. When we lost 6,000 square feet of roof, within hours, we had about 30 to 35 members of the community come up and help us take everything off the walls. And if you've been in Country Kitchen, we have a ton of stuff on the walls. And fortunately, we had a couple of days of dry weather after the hurricane, and we were able to move everything to the back of the kitchen and preserve it. But they just came in and, it's
Yeah, I
just
took a
on
Facebook
Facebook.
post and said,
Yeah.
hey, anybody that could show up with totes, come help. We may have, we, at that point in time, we almost thought we might not even recover from it. The damage looked so bad,
No,
but
it was bad.
I think there was probably 50 people here within 20 minutes.
And actually,
that post.
Acadian Builders came in and
Mhm.
Doug was able to have a roof put on within 3 days, 4 days. We actually had the cover up there, and then it took another 5 weeks to reconstruct the roof and the front of the restaurant and everything else. So we were blessed in a couple of ways. With the community, I was really touched by the way they just came up and for volunteer, just helped us out, because
Well, yeah, we opened up, 30 days after the roof came off?
5 weeks at a day, yeah.
And then we had one of the busiest days we've ever had when we opened the doors back
Busiest
up.
day ever, yeah.
I bet. And so most people are staying in touch with you guys through your Facebook page. Is that right?
That's where we get the most bang for our buck. Yeah.
And that's Country Kitchen Gonzalez.
Correct.
Okay. And you guys have your menus on there or what?
Yeah, I have a website set up that you can also go to see the different menus, which is just countrykitchengonzalez.com. The Facebook, we try to post daily with what we're gonna have that following day. I usually do it the night before. And we post other stuff too when we're having specials or different events and things that are going on over here. Facebook is probably the best place to follow us.
Yeah, Amy's been
Well,
great to help me with that because she's
yeah,
more
yeah.
technical.
Say that again.
He was saying I'm more tech savvy, and I was saying just a little bit. I don't know.
Got you. So you guys, I want to honor you and thank you, for having the heart and the willingness to do that on Christmas. That's beautiful. That's gracious, and it takes energy. It's not easy to do these kinds of things. So let's acknowledge you for that. And then you guys are doing something with the veterans as well.
Day free, the Veterans Day and the day after. We try to do it 2 days because a lot of veterans have activities on Veterans Day. So if they can't make it that day, they're welcome to come eat free any of those 2 days and stuff like that. I think we serve
You've been doing that about, I think, the last 5 years.
We've always done that.
Oh,
Actually, yeah, we've done it for.
We started tracking the numbers then 5
We
years
don't
ago.
get discounts, but we do food on free on Veterans Day.
Wow.
We did what, 140, 150 last year?
Yeah, last year was around 150.
Yeah, so it's
150 people ate for free veterans ate for free. Wow.
and a few World War II veterans. That was one just
Yeah.
passed, but yeah, that was always an honor to see the 90+ year olds come in and eat.
Oh, my mom
Thank you.
sets up books with all of her family's history with the war, and they'll sit and talk and go over different stories and listen to them tell their stories. And it's a really cool couple days in here because of the type of crowd that we get and the
Right. And
aspect of that.
they're talking, they're telling their stories at that point. That's
Yeah.
super cool. And most of these people are local. They've been living here, grown up here, and they went to war and came back for the most part.
Yeah, most of them were local that you could tell.
So you also got involved with the Cajun Navy and the flood, is that right too?
So after the hurricane that hit in the North Carolina, Helene, they were looking to raise funds to send a crew down there to work. So we had gotten together with them and we're not open on Saturday normally. So we opened on a Saturday and then donated all the proceeds from that day to their effort. I think we raised like 7,000 total.
7,000.
And then they sold a bunch of merchandise to raise even more.
5,000 in
Yeah.
merchandise.
Yeah, so it was 7,000 in sales and 5,000 in the stuff they were selling, but they sent volunteers to help work that day. We paid our kitchen staff to come in and cook. It was a really, really fun event because it was just a lot of people coming just to show them support and again, get together and talk and share stories.
And then someone told me you do a lot of stuff with the schools, with the local schools.
We always try to do sponsorships for the local programs. And then we just started last year doing the Spirit Nights, which have been pretty successful to raise funds last year. And we're going to do it again this year. We did kind of like for the high schools, a fun little competition with it. So we put 2 high schools against each other, Dutchtown versus Prairieville, EA versus Santa Maria in the same night. So you came and said which school you were there for. And then they each got a proceed from those.
Yeah, the
people that
100%
came.
of whatever they paid, 100% of it went to that school.
That sounds fun.
So they raised some good money and we had some fun with it. all the staff were wearing their high school shirts from back in the day, and
That sounds super.
yeah, I think we're gonna make that an annual thing. So I'm gonna reach out to the booster clubs again and see if we can set that up again in August.
Well, what's the best thing on the menu?
Wow, that's
I mean, the
tough.
fried chicken is what most people talk about. My favorite thing is honestly the meatloaf and mashed potatoes and the lima beans.
The jambalaya is good. I like the pork loin on Sundays and stuff like that. A lot of people like the fried catfish on Fridays and Sundays and Friday nights. That's gone over well.
On fried chicken livers on Thursday, we get out of towners that drive all the way over here on Thursdays to get those chicken livers. So
That's the biggest single item people will come in for.
Okay, I gotta try that. Wait, now when is the fried chicken livers when?
Thursdays.
Yeah,
All right. So Thursdays at my house is date night. So how late are y'all open on Thursdays?
They were only open during the week from 10:30 to 2 for
Okay.
lunch. Friday is the only night that we're open.
We're
5
gonna have to do a Thursday lunch date then and come eat some
Yeah.
chicken livers.
Yep, yep.
Yes, indeed. And then on Friday, tell me about the nights you just
The
opened.
Friday night we reopen from 5 to 8. We have the fried catfish on Friday nights. I change up the menu kind of seasonally on Friday nights. So right now we're about to start doing more of a summer menu with some barbecued pork or ribs, something like that's probably going to show up. We're going to do the fried catfish and the chicken and sausage gumbo. We have a lot of kid-friendly stuff on Friday nights, so pizza, mac and cheese, things that they typically like, French fries.
and we discount the family. Kids up to 4 years of age are free. From 5 to 10, with tax is $5. They're drinking everything included, and then from 10 to graduate high school, they're
$10.
$10, and that includes their tax, their drinking, everything. So we
And those
we don't-
teenagers-
yeah,
Those teenagers like us. They come in a lot on their own now. We got a big crowd that come on early dismissal days, and on Friday nights we'll see a few of them in
yeah,
here.
we get 30 or 40 of them on a early dismissal.
Really? I'm gonna have to send my teenager over there.
Well, for $10, you can't
You
really.
can't really
go.
eat more
Exactly.
than $10
That's, I
bucks.
mean, nowadays,
Yeah.
I paid $15 for a salad yesterday.
Yeah.
I was like, I wanted to cry. I was like, did you ring it up twice? How is this $15?
Yeah, our salad bar, if somebody comes in just to get a salad bar, is only $11. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm coming. I'm coming get me some salads because $15 for a salad with no meat in it. This was just salad, lettuce, tomatoes.
we're very lucky that we're able to keep our price point as low as we are. We operate with a lot of volume. So the more people that come in, the easier it is for us to keep our price point low. So it's affordable.
Purposely, I like to keep the price low so the volume will stay up because there's safety in volume.
Yep.
And we'll do average probably 350, 400, 420 people a day. So Sundays and Fridays being much bigger than that, the rest of the week a little less than that. So the volume has really helped us keep the prices down. And because the restaurant's paid for, our overhead is very low. So I can absorb a little bit more food costs. than most
Yeah.
restaurants could. Yeah.
So do y'all know anything about the train station that was right there?
I keep hearing it's coming. They're supposed to be building one right across from us, but they
Yeah.
were supposed to start that 2 years ago. So
Well, what about the old train station? Do y'all know anything about that?
I
No,
heard,
both.
I heard about it, but I don't remember.
let's see if the historian texted me that, because she.
So
The ice house was across the street, straight across the street between us and the railroad track. There was an ice house there. We lived in Baton Rouge. Well, every time we went fishing down this area, that was the ice house we'd stop at.
between the street and the railroad track, there was an ice
It was like 50 feet, and that's where the ice house was.
Was there? So they must have been getting the ice off of a train at that point, you think, or no?
They could have been back in the 40s,
Okay.
50s. I think it was open that far back. This building was built in 1946. And it was originally a furniture store. The furniture store moved into where the
Oh, that's-
Plenty is now.
Funny. So
And then, yeah,
Shirley Bourgeois, was that your grandmother?
No.
Oh, okay.
okay, yeah,
That's who gave her all that information.
information. So, yeah, we get a lot of people coming with the history of the building over the years. And then after the furniture store moved next door, the place became a feed store. There's been a barber shop that was up front for about 15 years. There was a pants factory in 55, 56. That for 2 years, it was the first factory in Gonzales while they were building the factory across Highway 44, where the paper company is now. they located the factory here in the back of it. So that's where the back of my restaurant was built for
Yeah, the
that.
building's been here for almost 100 years.
Yeah, it's been 1946 and about 80 years. Yeah.
80 years. Okay.
But so it has, and it has its challenges. There's 3 roofs up on top of it, so I like fooling with mechanical stuff. So there's
constantly
always something
renovating.
to fix. Yeah, we're always repairing, fixing, or
But he's so good at that. That's his niche. He loves to mess with things and fix things. He's always looking for a project.
trying to stay away from electricity. But other than that, we do okay.
So what do you know about the new train station?
All I've heard is that they were supposed to start construction on it last year. They still have not. But they're supposed to be putting it directly across from us and then creating like a green space around it and then a whole parking area. And they're talking about having it kind of lined up with some shops and things in that area. It's supposed to run from only 2 routes to start 8 in the morning and I think around 6 p.m.
The only real use for it, I think, will be going to the airport. I travel a lot, so it would be convenient to get on a train here, let my wife drop me off, and then go straight to the airport. Other than that, personally, I don't see it as a big sale. People are so used to their own cars down here, and
Cars are
so-
expensive.
Yeah, they are, but people are lazy and they don't want to wait for a train. They'd rather just drive down there and park.
Yeah, it is a growing challenge though for younger people and for people who have come up without, any advantages in society. To even get a vehicle is becoming, I mean, it's like my first vehicle, I guess, was probably like $1,200, right? That I could make like on 2 summers cutting grass and save all my money and buy it. You know, it is yeah, what you're gonna get for
That's why I think
$1,200? A bicycle?
have the benefit, because they're talking about 7 stops total between the airport and Baton Rouge. So you would be able to get to the airport, the health district in New Orleans, the health district in Baton Rouge, and then they would have a couple stops like this one in between where they'll be, shopping, the DMV, restaurants, different
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
I'm not holding my breath. I think
Yeah, right. I mean, who knows? But it's interesting. It's an interesting thing. A lot of people want to talk about it and hear about it and see what, anything that anybody knows. So, how long, Mr. McInnis, have you been, you grew up in Baton Rouge?
I grew up in Baton Rouge, Lee High School. The only time I've lived out of Baton Rouge, besides here for the last 50 years, is when I was at Louisiana Tech, where I met my wife, but Ginger McInnis, and she helped with the restaurant and the shop a lot too. Now she taught for 30 years as a teacher right down the street. And for the last 15 years almost, she's been helping at the restaurant.
We finally have started getting her to stay away a little bit more because she loves to come up here and help cart dishes back and forth and check people out at the register. And she's a busybody.
Keep up with her shop, and she makes angels out of old jewelry, and so she displays them and sells them here at the restaurant too.
Well, what's kind of your future plan with with the restaurant, with the building, with the family? What are you going to do?
We'll put you on the spot. What's the
I plan to
time?
be here till they kick me out. And then
It sounds like everybody is there until they get kicked out.
Yeah, our staff sticks around a long time here. We've had the same cook in the back for 23 years, 24 years.
That's been the biggest blessing. Phyllis and Raymond. Phyllis has been here for 25 years, even before I bought it.
That's
I always
amazing.
give credit to the kitchen because honestly, the food is what brings people back. The waitress staff, the niceness and everything that helps keep them in. But people come for the food. And Phyllis has been in charge of the kitchen for 25 years. Her son is now managing Raymond, and Raymond and her work well together because it's difficult to find people that actually understand how a kitchen works and how a business works.
And she has no plans to retire either. So
Yeah, we don't plan to get, and I don't plan to retire.
I mean, it's amazing that you've had people work 25 years. And I mean, that's like unheard of in today's world.
yeah, our busboy Terrence has been with us for 21 years now. We actually celebrated his 20th year and did a big cover on the Ascension magazine
Yeah,
for him. He's never missed a day of work in 20
He's
years.
never missed one day of work, and we had him on the magazine And when people would come in, he would tell them, I'll sign it for you.
Yeah.
So he autographed probably, I don't know, 120 copies of the,
You can see it when you come in now. We
Yeah.
have it framed and put up on the wall in the area where people line
and the
up.
sheriff gave him a plaque
Yeah.
for not missing a day of work.
That is incredible.
Yeah, Terrence is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what else might we not know?
I mean, that's with a lot of our staff. Our wait staff has been here, like I told you, the two Cannon daughters stuck around with us for up until a few years ago. So I think they were here a total of 30 years. We had another waitress that just recently left that's been here for 16 years. So once they get here, they don't like to leave.
We've had
Well-
the Moran sisters have all worked for.
Yeah, the whole family.
They've all, for the last 16, 17 years since Kim started, and Casey before that, they all have worked here. Beautiful girls with great work ethics.
And who was that? Say it again. I didn't catch it.
The Morans, it was Kim Moran, Katie Moran, Christy Moran, Kelly Moran.
Yeah.
And Casey was the first one.
Yeah,
to
Casey
hold it.
Moran, yeah.
I always say we're a family business and we're operated by many families. Because in our kitchen, we have Phyllis and her son and his wife that work there. And well, two of her sons actually work here for us. And then up front, it'll be the same thing. You'll get the sisters will come in and the friends and.
We're that restaurant that if you go to a small town, you want to discover.
Well, what other things? Is there any other things that we might get from you, Mr. McInnis? Is there anything like I mean, you've had so much success with this restaurant. What's next? You got
Just more travel.
why are you not waiting? Why are you not opening 5 more?
My goal is to make my life as easy as possible, and I've worked at it pretty good. And I like Amy said, I like to travel out of the country 3 or 4 times a year. So I have a wall in here that we show pictures of every time we take a trip. We try to put, I think I'm in the 35 countries, we try to put a picture on the wall so people can see where their money's going. The more I do that, the more I try to, take it easy, is my goal. Amy is much more innovative coming in, and we work good together because she wants to constantly change things and I want to constantly keep them the same. So
Meet in the middle.
we try to meet in the middle.
Amy, what's your background? Career?
So I have been in and out of working in the restaurant industry my whole life. I was at the Frost Tops when we had those growing up. I've done a lot of different jobs. I originally wanted to go to school to be a teacher, but then decided that really wasn't for me. And then after having children, I stayed home for 10 years with them. And then when I did decide to go back to work, I started my own housekeeping business. So I did that for 10 years, kind of working here just as needed. And then about 2.5 years ago is when I made the decision to leave that business and come over here full time, just to kind of help with the growth. It got to the point where it needed more of a hands-on approach with the overhead, payroll, and all of the different aspects that go into running a business that's growing this big. So.
And what is it that you would like to see changed the most?
Keep growing, keep being able to offer more stuff to the community. The more we grow, the more ability we have to do that. I want to be able to, maybe open a little bit more. He's not very much on board with that, but I have plans to maybe open a couple more nights and maybe on Saturdays. But that's a long time in the future. I would just like to give our staff more opportunity to work, because one of the issues we do have is that we're only open for lunch. So a lot of our workers work very part-time hours and they want to work more, but we're not open enough to give them those extra hours. That's one of the reasons we started doing the Friday night.
Yeah, Amy started the Friday night, so I wasn't gonna do it.
That's my baby.
Yeah, so she has a free hand at that, and it's paid off real well. It's done well. We're creating, we're probably 2/3 of what a normal shift would be.
He likes to work less. I like to work more. So that's the.
Well, I mean, look, it looks like you've got great energy, and I can see you laughing and cutting eyes at each other. So that's funny for the people who aren't watching on YouTube and who are just listening. They're cutting up more than what you can tell by the voices. I mean, we're all 3 smiling, and there's some energy, going on that may not come through the audio. We're kind of tongue in cheek here a little bit. So. I'm excited to have y'all on. It was so good today to learn. I think my biggest takeaway is these family generational, this orientation towards building these groups of families where, sisters are working together and mothers and sons and families. Uh, that's got to be special. I mean, like that's got to
I
be
mean, it's a positive and it can be difficult sometimes to navigate that, but I think we do a pretty good job of balancing that out here because there's drama involved when you have people that know each other so well and you're constantly navigating the personality conflicts. But overall, I think it's really nice to work with people that you truly care about and get along with for the most part.
well, I was gonna say, when I'm saying special, I'm talking about like an energy, right? An atmosphere. Because okay, like compare that to a corporate restaurant where it's all just everybody got hired through an HR department, right? Like that is going to be a whole different feeling in the building. So
It
I,
comes down to respect. We respect like I said, we give credit to our employees and we respect them. And they learn after a while that that respect has to come in, both ways, both directions.
Well, and they get a lot of say in things too, which helps. Like we take their ideas that they have after being in that job for so long and they know what works and doesn't work. And we take that into account when we're creating different layouts for the restaurant or trying to change up a few little minor things here and there, which is nice to get that input from them.
well, if people want to reach out to you guys, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Facebook probably is the best way. They can email countrykitchengonzalez@gmail.com, but I'm pretty good
The
at checking the
webpage,
Facebook
for
as
those
well.
that don't do Facebook, the webpage would be probably the easiest, or call us, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to say your phone number?
We have real people that answer the phones
Sure.
here. It's 225-644-4661.
Perfect. And do you have any other plans for the community service to either grow or expand or make more regular what you're already doing or any new things?
We're.
I mean, we're always looking
Yeah.
at different options for helping people with fundraising. You did an episode with the Ascension Community Theater. That was one of the first ones that I listened to. And I reached out to the director there to see if we can maybe collaborate with them to start doing some fundraising stuff. So we're going to hopefully have something like that in the works over the summer. And then also, like I said, with the high schools, we're going to be doing some of that at the start of the year. And then our Christmas dinner obviously will be coming up again. I usually start planning that around November. So right when we get through Thanksgiving is when I start trying to send out stuff. I do a Google sheet for people to sign up so they can kind of tell me what they're going to show up with. That way we can kind of see ahead of time, like, do we have enough people bringing sides? Do I need to make some more? Does the restaurant need to donate something? So
We do a lot of free meals for any benefit. We're an easy touch. Somebody comes in and they're raising money for the cancer program. 10 meals, we pretty much give out.
Yeah, gift
when we
cards
can
and
to help
stuff.
in that respect. That's one thing I've learned, you can't outgive God, and things like the more we've given over the years, the more we've gotten back. So we're looking for the opportunity to help in any way we can that, people want to do. It's
Wow.
been blessed, so might as well give some of it back.
Yeah. So if you're interested in reaching out, those are the ways. She gave the phone number, the email address, and the Facebook page again is Country Kitchen Gonzalez.
Yeah.
And that's C, the country is with a C.
Thank
Country.
you, because a lot
Yeah.
of people want to spell that with a K.
For some reason, which is the
I
wrong way
think
to
it's
spell it.
because there's the country corner,
Right, right,
which we
right.
get confused with, and they do spell it with a K.
So
But I get
country with a
that all the
C,
time.
kitchen with a K.
Yeah.
Gonzalez. And we're going to do a lightning round real quick and wrap it up here. But today's episode is brought to you guys by JW the Builder. We have recently opened a roofing division and we are knocking it out of the park. We've got lots of roofs we're putting on. We're doing a lot of hail damage jobs right now. There were several hailstorms that came through Livingston and Ascension in the last few months. You may not realize it, but if your roof has been beaten up with hail, it's probably damaged. Unless it's brand new, it's going to be damaged. So we do free roof inspections with JW the Builder. You can reach out to us. You can reach out to me directly at 225-921-0286. Please leave me a voicemail or text me because sometimes I'm doing podcasts and I can't answer the phone, but I would be happy to talk to you. So I want to ask you guys both. And so we'll start with you, Amy. What's the best vacation you've ever taken?
I don't take a whole lot of vacations. The Disney cruise that we bought the kids on was probably my favorite one.
That sounds fun. I've had a lot of people tell me that that's a blast.
They enjoyed that the most, so that was probably my favorite.
What about you, Mr. Skipper?
India was probably my most interesting vacation. It's filthy, it's dirty, but it was the most out of my element. I've never seen a country, China, Philippines, none of them have been quite as devastating as India is as far as poverty and stuff. But then the history, because I love history, the 4,000-year-old temples, the colors, and the food was some of the best food. I hate to say that as a restaurant owner, but some of the best food I ever had in my life because everything is so fresh. The seasonings that they use are so interesting and stuff over there. So India was probably my favorite.
How long did you stay in India? That's interesting.
A little over 2 weeks. I went with the guys. My wife doesn't like to go to places like China, the Philippines, something like that. So with the guys I travel with, we were there a little over 2 weeks and stuff like that. You got to stay a while because it's a long trip.
When was that trip? That
Yeah.
was a while back, huh?
10, 12, 13, maybe 14
Yeah.
years ago. Yeah.
So we'll stay with you with the next question. What's your favorite book?
Yeah, I watch most of them.
Okay.
I can tell you my favorite poem is Rudyard Kipling. That's probably the last thing I said. If the poem of Rudyard Kipling, it has a great, for anybody growing up, my father gave me that as a young man, and it teaches you a lot of elements and stuff like that. God, I have to go back a ways. My favorite book was definitely Huey Long, the autobiography. Was one of the most fascinating individuals I've ever read about. He was one of these Trump-like persons that only slept 5 hours a night. Would accomplish so much in his 35 years of life. But yeah.
My second job, which I was doing at the same time of my first job was boiling crawfish at 15 years old.
Very
I might have been
Louisiana
14.
first
I was boiling crawfish. While I was doing that, I bought a lawnmower and I started cutting grass and I started working for Russell Long.
Oh, really?
And I got to meet all of them, and all the stories they would tell me all these stories. I've been interested in history too my whole life. And so that was really cool. So I have a little bit of a special association with the Long family. It's always interesting. And I got to go on some of their private places and property. Super interesting, super interesting. But yeah. So what about you, Amy?
My favorite, I don't read a ton, especially now. I do a lot of audiobooks and listen to a lot of podcasts, but I don't really take the time to read. But one of my favorite books I've ever read that was very life-changing for me was The Four Agreements by Notch Khan.
Yes, indeed.
I give it out to people all the time. I keep a few copies in my car because I just found it to be so helpful in learning how to navigate, especially when you're working in a business where you have to deal with people on a level of working together and collaborating, because it teaches you basically to not take things personally and do your best work, and how to navigate when people don't like a decision that you make, or somebody is upset, over something that you can't control, and how to keep centered in those types of environments.
I just listened to it on audio. I just listened to it.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I try to listen to it once a year.
I've read
Right.
it multiple times, and I've made my kids read it, and I've given it to a few of my staff here that I've seen struggling with certain things. And I'm like, here.
Well, listen, we're gonna wrap it up. Is there anything else that you
Yeah,
want?
we're getting busy if you can't
Is
tell.
there anything else that you want us to know before we close it out?
Yeah, not really. We've covered most of the bases. We'd love to have people come in. We love new customers all the time.
Yeah, and I'd love for customers to come in and let us know that they heard it. That'd be great.
Yeah. Give a shout out back to you. Appreciate the interview. It was fun. It was entertaining and at the same time educational.
Yeah, we're very honored that y'all reached out to us in the early days of putting this together. That really means a lot to us that we were recognized.
Appreciate it.
All right. Well, with that, we're gonna call it a day. It is Friday. So what you got today over there on the menu? Some catfish?
Fried fish.
We've got the fried fish, baked fish, the chicken and sausage gumbo on Fridays, jambalaya, white beans,
You're about to talk me into coming right over there. I think I might come actually because I need to go to Pro Source on Highway 30. We appreciate y'all so much for coming on. Again, we want to honor you for what you're doing when you give back, giving all the free meals. You don't have to do that. It's a blessing. You're a blessing to the community, and we want to continue to support you. So thank you for what you're doing, and you guys have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for listening to the Parish Porch. We want to continue bringing this content to you. And if you had fun and you enjoyed the story and you learned new things, please consider supporting our show by clicking on the support show link, which will be in the show notes. Support show link. That'll help us keep rolling. That'll help us keep going. It'll be a fun journey as we grow. If you want to talk to us directly and maybe become a guest, email us at parishporch@gmail.com. This show is sponsored by JW the Builder, a licensed general contractor with a roofing division. We're doing roofs all over Ascension, Livingston, and East Baton Rouge. And we have another show called the 90 Up Challenge podcast, where we focus on real estate investing, growth, sales, personal growth, and business entrepreneurship. Last but not least, it's your voice. Jump on the porch and speak up.